All right, welcome into the Newport This Week video podcast series. As many of our followers know, we're here for you every week on newportthisweek.com and on the Newport This Week YouTube channel. I'm Bill Bartholomew. So we're discussing a story today that is still on, it's an ongoing, unfolding process here, but there's been some pretty significant movement in it. And that is the initial proposal to eliminate the Newport Career and Tech Center, and with it, a couple of major programs as part of the broader Rogers redevelopment plan. And without getting too far into the weeds, we welcome school committee member Dr. Bob Power, who has been on the really the front lines of efforts to save this program. There's again a lot of detail to this story. Certainly, NewportThisWeek.com has an excellent article that outlines where we're at as of taping right now. But Dr. Power, if you could kind of give us the elevator synopsis of what's going on here.
So, yeah, the basis is that in the process of developing, the new Rogers High School site, and with the pandemic and finances and all the other things that came into play, decisions started getting made to try to save money. And one of the ways to do that would be potentially to take the building, the tech school down, because it would be less expensive to run the utilities through that site. Having said that, I think, in my opinion, it's a short-sighted view. I think that, keeping that building is something that allows us to keep a couple of programs that would be displaced. One is cosmetology, with actually no plan in place to do anything with that. They haven't been signing kids up for that. And also the other one that really gets hit is the automotive program. And their plan would be for the kids to go off site to a place on the Navy base, which now necessitates lost classroom time. It necessitates transportation costs. And you've also got a really nice auto tech program there with a lot of equipment that I'm not sure what happens to that. So, I saw the part where we lost an auditorium and we gave the kids a lesser space, and we lost a really classic gym, probably the best in the state, and we got a lesser gym. But when they decided to cut those programs and kids started losing programs, that's when I decided, I'm going to jump in and go for school committee. And I've said this a million times, in a very narrow lane of trying to save that building and save those programs. And the response I've gotten from people in Newport, both, running for office, and I know some of the other people that ran, is that people in Newport don't want those programs to go away, and they don't want that building taken down. And then when you look into it a little bit deeper, you find out that there is no plan at the moment to house administration, which is the superintendent's office. There's also human resources. And you will find that I believe that they've put a couple of programs, administrative programs, are out at the Pell School. And, we just did Pell School over to put classroom space in there, and we're going to be putting administration in there. So there's a lot of reasons. Plus, the city's now renting some space for some of their departments. There's a potential that they could put some stuff in there, which would save them a rent. So there's a whole lot of reasons that I think have come together that make sense to take a look at this and not take that building down.
Right. And crucial to this issue as well, in terms of practicality, all of that which you just mentioned, you could make an argument that, hey, you know what, in the event of this building being demolished and not replaced, sure, an administrative facility, while it might take classroom space, it could go somewhere else. The automotive program, while not optimal and maybe a loss of those pieces of equipment in that facility, it could go to the Navy base. What's pretty clear, common sense would tell you, and also practical on the ground conversations in the community, relocating a cosmetology program to a salon that at any given point in time might have to host 20 students is an impractical and frankly impossible task. So you're basically offering a death wish to this program if you demolish that building. Is that your take?
Well, yeah, clearly, cosmetology is going, they have no plan for that. And at best, it's something they're coupling together, which will probably end up in the demise of that program. And I think the same thing is probably true for the auto tech program, which both of those programs, by the way, are top subscribed programs. I mean, they're full. Those kids are in those programs. They like those programs. And interestingly, one of the cosmetology teachers, a former one, said to me, besides cosmetology for kids who are going to that program, it was also those kids felt it was a safe space for them to go to, and not that the school's not safe, but it was a place for them to be. And I think that, with the auto tech program, it's kind of the same thing for some of the kids that are there. When I was superintendent of schools in Little Compton, I had a kid who was pretty disengaged, smart kid. When he saw that there was a possibility of going to the auto tech program, and he had his 8th grade coming up. All of a sudden, his grades came up because I said, you got to be good. You got to do your stuff. And all of a sudden, he got re-engaged in school. He was enthusiastic because he knew had something that he could see in the future. And it just made a difference. And I'm talking about, a couple of little instances, and I'm sure there's many more. And I know there's been a lot of letters written by people saying, the experience they've had with those programs. And it comes at a time, I think, that the whole country's talking about careers. I mean, this old house is talking about getting kids engaged in building and carpentry and electrical work and plumbing and those kinds of things. And for us to take a career tech center building down is the wrong direction, because what other programs could we be putting into that building that we may have kids, that want to get engaged in things that I can't even see into the future?
That's right. And you take a look, and I think that is really the fundamental principle at a moment where we're certainly understanding at minimum, a changing dynamic in what post-secondary education looks like and implementation into the workforce. You take a look at what New York just rolled out last week, New York City, a huge investment in career and tech in a variety of programs, some of which can lead to union jobs, some of which can lead to opportunities for an entrepreneurial mindset, which such would be the case with automotives and cosmetology. So it makes no sense. It's literally working backwards and going against the grain that society is heading in to eliminate these programs and to eliminate that facility. As you said, they seem to go hand in hand. It's hard to imagine that you could reinstate those programs without the appropriate facility.
Yeah. And I think also that, and I'm not trying to fault the building committee, but I think maybe they misread the community when they decided to make that decision to try to save some money. I think that there is a will in the community, and my sense is in talking to the city council members and in talking, like I said, to people in the community, that they want that building to stay intact, that they want those programs to stay intact, that they're supportive of that, and they understand that there may be a premium to be paid. And where does that money come from? Maybe it comes out of some city funds. Maybe it comes out of the bond money that they just put together. Maybe there's money in the school department that we can take a look at. Maybe there's somebody in the community who's willing to step up and say to the community, listen, I'll give you X amount of dollars if you'll match these dollars to keep that program. I mean, I think there's a lot of possibilities out there to do it, but I think that the bottom line is that we should not be taking that building down.
There's right now, we're in a moment where we're recording this on Monday. What is the date today? What is it, the 9th? It is. We're recording this on Monday, December 9th. There's a school committee meeting tomorrow, Tuesday the 10th, that will ultimately be the next step in deciding the fate of the building and likely the programs themselves. Last week at a school committee meeting, in a 6-1 vote, the committee voted to, and correct me if I'm wrong here, essentially put out an RFP or an RFQ to industry experts to assess and offer feedback on what it would actually cost to reroute the electrical elements that were to go into the location that the Career and Tech building occupies right now. In sum, is that a fair statement of where we're at right now in this
Well,
process?
it's utilities. There's a sewer line involved. Yeah, so that's and there's digging involved in that. So it would be a rerouting of that. Yeah, that's basically what we're talking about. And we basically went back to the people who were building the building and said, look, you're the architects, you're the engineers, you know this property, you know what we're talking about. And there were votes in the past to keep that building, and then there was a change, and then you voted to not keep the building. So it's that almost tells you they've gone back and forth on this. It's not been we're taking the building down, boom, we're moving forward. It's been, let's keep it, let's not keep it, let's keep it, we're not going to keep it. And like I said before, a lot of that, I think, is driven by dollars, which I completely understand. I'm a taxpayer in Newport. I mean, I pay taxes here. I've been here, all my life so far, and I I pay, so I get it.
Right. But it's hardly wasteful spending when you're educating a student population that can then go out into a practical field or two, or as you said, in the future, who knows, yet to be known industries that may end up being in that facility. You're reinvesting right back into the community. That's the groundwork. That's a fundamental reason we educate our population. So it's not like you're asking for you know, um, a hot tub to be installed for the football team or something like that.
Correct. Yeah. And in the future, there may be other facilities that get created somewhere on the island, and we've talked about regionalization. And so those programs at some point may shift to another location, which is even better than what they have, or it's more inclusive, or however it was. I mean, initially there was a design. There wasn't a design to put anything for these programs in the new building, which I never understood. I missed that somehow in the bond issue. And then there was pushback because I said, you need to push back with the state on this, because just because the state says something doesn't mean it has to be true. And they pushed back, and the state said, yeah, you could put those programs in there. Now that was an added piece. And they did design those locations in that building, and they did put some infrastructure in there. The problem they've got is that the number to put those programs in that building now is a much bigger number. And I clearly understand that the taxpayers of Newport may say, listen, if you can keep that building and you keep those programs and we don't have to pay that bigger price tag, I'm willing to do that. I don't want to pay, the top dollar. I don't want to pay for the Rolls Royce or the Cadillac or whatever it is, but I do want these kids to have these programs. And if you can work that out in a way that's not $1 gazillion, we're all for that.
Hmm. Last question here, just sort of, I think it does connect, and you raised the word regionalization. The appetite for regionalization on Quidnick Island is extremely mixed. It literally depends on who you talk to. Some people are totally uninformed, so that would be one part of it. But there are informed folks who have made compelling arguments for and against regionalization. The scenario here with the career in tech, might this be an argument for regionalization from the standpoint of, hey, this is Newport offering something that other districts or another district on the island wouldn't offer. Hence, Newport's contributing this career and tech facility and these career and tech programs to a future potential regionalization. Do you think this has an effort to maybe sell regionalization more? Or do you think it could have the opposite effect where Newport says, hey, wait a minute, we invested in this career and tech facility. This is for our kids, and we want to make sure that we're not eliminating the possibility for some of our Newport residents to participate in these programs, because now we have, be it Middletown or maybe Portsmouth residents who are interested in signing up for this program.
I think whatever Newport can bring to the table is going to enhance the conversation of regionalization. I mean, regionalization, I mean, go back to when I was very young, all of the kids on the island and in Jamestown and Tiverton, they all went to Rogers High School. And then over time, Middletown built a high school and Portsmouth built a high school, and Jamestown decided to go to the other side of the bay. So, at one point we were the high school, and that's where all the kids went. And so it's not unthinkable to say at some point we may come back, economy of scale, at least Middletown and Newport at this point, to say that we will have a high school that would have both communities in there.
Dr.